Now, if it's down 12% in volume, but the number of value that it's down is higher, that means that people aren't buying the high value, high profit, big ticket items. This means we're in an economic slump, which is what everybody that lives in Britain knows, apart from all the people that work in government. It's because I know this, again, speaking as a father, kids keep growing. And that bike that you bought not long ago that you intended to use, but you didn't, because the summer that we had was terrible, and the cycling holidays that you'd planned to have in Cornwall, you didn't do, because the prices of accommodation for a holiday in Cornwall are ludicrous, and the weather was pants. So instead, the bike stayed in the shed. Why don't you set up a deal with some holiday parks that have got great bike tracks and give £35 off per person for anyone who arrives with a bike? Job done. I just sorted cycling policy for you. That'll get people active and it'll get the kids off their iPads. Good morning. Here's an interesting and quite important one, actually. On the back of yesterday's video about EVs not selling, check this one out that was sent to me as well. UK cycle sales slump to 39-year low. Industry group seeks government help. This is about cycling, bicycles, lycra, helmets, very skinny tyres, carbon fibre frames, electronically rising seat posts. That's pretty much everything I know about bikes. Right, this is from Forbes.com. This article is actually from February, but I'm guessing you didn't know about this. Cycle sales are at a 39-year low, reveals the latest statistics from the Bicycle Association of Great Britain. And without immediate government support, the collapse will intensify, warned executives from the industry organisation at a members-only meeting on Thursday. I have seen the PowerPoint presentation projected at the meeting, and it will have made grim viewing for any industry executives hoping to hear that the worst of the post-pandemic slump might be over. Let's backtrack a little. We had a pandemic. No, can't do it. We had a pandemic. I'm trying to do it. Planned. We had one of those, right? And during that time, we had lockdown, which was a period where Britain experienced fantastic weather, day after day after day, which was conveniently timed for us being asked to stay in our homes. But people were still able to order bikes, and bike sales and going out and doing stuff was really, really popular. So bikes had a massive boom in the plan in that bit, and then just afterwards as well, there was a moment where you couldn't buy a bike. The price of bikes went through the roof, and so cycling had this huge boom, and everybody was hoping that this was going to be the new boom in cycling, because as we know, they're ripping out roads left, right and centre to replace them with cycle lanes. But it appears that cycling never really had its glory days after the pandemic. Everybody got their furlough money when they were paid to stay at home, and they spent them on expensive bikes, and then they never used them. And they didn't buy new bikes after this. This is what this article is saying. The government has often wheeled about Brompton of London as a global success story, but even sales of folding bikes are down, reducing by 22% in 2023. So Brompton are these quite expensive bikes that fold in half so you can take them on the tube. And as the article says, a bit of a success story for, British cycling. But even their sales are down 22% in 2023. That's not an insignificant number, is it? Brompton CEO Will Butler-Adams agreed that 2023 had been a terrible year for bike sales in the UK and the EU, but that Brompton bicycles were sold around the world, so the company was insulated to a degree. A slide warned members that overall market volume would remain well below 2019 levels in 2026, and that a long-term continuum of decline is likely without government intervention. So we're saying that the bicycling industry, lycra, helmets, carbon fibre frames, electronically rising seat posts, is going to be down below 2019 levels, even up to 2026. So bicycling is in decline, which is really weird because bicycle lanes are in increase. So there's a disconnect here, isn't there? The government are pushing an agenda that the people aren't following through with. I've got some theories as to why cycling isn't going at the rate the government wants it to. My theory is obviously that the bike lanes are being put in just to get the car drivers off the road. But the fact of the matter is the car drivers don't want to get onto bikes because it rains all of the time. And the weather in Britain is so bad and has been so bad this year that I have had to leave It's no wonder we're not a nation of cyclists when it's 6 degrees and drizzling for 2/3 of the year. Cycle use is also down, according to the Department of Transport statistics, with the pandemic's bike boom peaking in March 2021 and falling precipitously since. Participation is now back to pre-pandemic levels, but the Department for Transport's cycle index predicts a likely decline. Sales of costly electric bikes, currently the cycle industry's most profitable sector, are down 7% in volume and 5% in value. So only 150,000 electric bikes were sold in 2023. Most of those were sent to YouTubers for free, because I can't tell you how many electric bikes I have been asked to review for the channel. They want to send me a bike, they want to pay me to do it, but I am not interested in reviewing battery-powered crap from China, he says, filming on an iPhone, reading off a MacBook. Inventory levels, I just put that in there because I know someone's going to say it in the comments. Inventory levels have remained punitively high. In 2022, UK suppliers imported 257,270 e-bikes, but only 161,000 were sold at retail. So there's almost 100,000 electric bikes from 2022 that didn't sell. Storage of these bicycles and their likely eventual sale at a loss is painful for suppliers. The cycle industry has had a tumultuous few months with several high-profile business closures. Recent failures include the demise of the leading industry player More Large, the administration of market-leading internet retailer Wiggle/Chain Reaction, and late last year, Raleigh of Nottingham revealed it would be closing its long-standing parts and accessories business. I thought net zero was going to be all about not using your car and bicycling more. That means people are going to need, hang on, we can do this one more time. They're going to need Lycra, helmets, carbon fibre frames and electronically rising seat posts. And where are they going to buy those from? Especially, well, they're clearly not going to come from Britain if Raleigh are shutting down their accessories brand. Isla Roundtree, founder of children's bike brand Isla Bikes, cited the struggles in a shrinking market when announcing the company's planned closure. Sales of cycle accessories and clothing have taken a resounding hit, reveals the Bicycle Association's sales monitoring service, with an 8% reduction in 2023 over the previous year by volume and an 11% reduction in value. Cycling technology, such as bicycle computers, GPS navigation devices and heart rate monitors, is down 12% in volume and 31% in value. Now, if it's down 12% in volume, but the number of value that it's down is higher, that means that people aren't buying the high value, high profit, big ticket items. This means we're in an economic slump, which is what everybody that lives in Britain knows, apart from all the people that work in government. Overall, 1.55 million bikes were sold in 2023, an annual low last experienced in 1985. Following the bursting of the BMX bubble. With the introduction of mountain bikes, sales subsequently recovered, with the UK industry typically selling more than 3 million bicycles annually. So we're down like a half from where we should be. The Bicycle Association has sought government support for the cycle industry for several years. In 2018, it commissioned a report making the industrial case for government subsidies and support. The value of the cycling sector to the British economy report argued that the UK cycle industry was worth 3 times more than the UK steel industry and employed twice as many people. Cycling-related businesses generated at least £5.4 billion for the economy and sustained 64,000 jobs, said the report. I'm reading this long form because I'm learning at the same time that you're learning. You might not know this. Sales of electric bikes should be subsidised by the government, the Bicycle Association has long argued. The organisation also wants the removal of VAT from sales of children's cycles and funding for growing the UK cycle industry's capacity to innovate. I fully agree with that. Take the VAT off the sale of kids' bikes and ramp the VAT up on the sale of kids' electronic devices. Speaking as a father. Worryingly for the industry, sales of children's bikes have been trending downwards for some time and were 8% lower in 2023 than the previous year. So if times are hard, your children might not get the new bike that they want or possibly need because they've outgrown their other bikes. Because I know this, again, speaking as a father, kids keep growing. And that bike that you bought not long ago that you intended to use but you didn't because the summer that we had was terrible, and the cycling holidays that you'd planned to have in Cornwall you didn't do because the prices of accommodation for a holiday in Cornwall are ludicrous and the weather was pants. So instead the bike stayed in the shed. I think I'm getting a picture as to why the British cycling industry isn't working. It's to do with the big yellow thing in the sky and how little it actually comes out. Online searches for premium versus entry-level bikes showed the most significant drop in interest has been at the entry level. Wow. So established bicyclists who are buying the expensive stuff are still buying the expensive stuff, but the entry-level bikes are not selling. This is really sad. This is genuinely sad. With fewer new cyclists, the slump will continue to worsen, Bicycle Association members were told. Sales of road bikes and gravel bikes bucked the trend, increasing sales by 8% and 11% respectively, but all other categories were down. Sales of costly triathlon bikes fell by 34% in 2023. So road bikes and gravel bikes, those are your hardcore bicyclists. That's your core industry. They're up 8% and 11%, but triathlon bikes, which is what men do when they have a midlife crisis, that's down 34%. That's perhaps because, again, belts are being tightened and wallets are being closed because times are quite hard in Britain at the minute for everybody who's not a politician. The Bicycle Association's presentation revealed that sales during the pandemic's bike boom might have been good for those bike shops that could get stock, but their suppliers overextended themselves. A little under 3 million bicycles were imported in 2022, but only 2.13 million were sold at retail. This inventory glut reduced in 2023, with supply catching up with demand, but many more suppliers will likely go to the wall in the months ahead if the slump in sales continues. It's unlikely that the UK government, which pivoted to a populist pro-motoring stance last year, will support the cycle industry. No, it didn't. The government has not pivoted to a populist pro-motoring stance. Can we stop with this whole cyclists versus motorists thing? You can be a motorist and you can be a cyclist. You can be a cyclist and you can be a motorist. But where the motorists get annoyed is when the roads are removed for cyclists who are not there. Earlier this week, a report from the Institute for Public Policy Research think tank concluded that underfunding of active travel in the past decade has hampered UK cycling and walking by failing to make them attractive as modes of travel. £35 per person per year is needed, it urges, for the foreseeable future in infrastructure building and other interventions to realise active travel's economic, health and environmental benefits. Active travel. Again, that's going to be one of these things that's got shady non-government organisations behind it that are all funded by the same people that are funding everything. If you want to contribute £35 per person per year, I'll tell you what you can do. Why don't you set up a deal with some holiday parks that have got great bike tracks and give £35 off per person for anyone who arrives with a bike? Job done. I just sorted cycling policy for you. That'll get people active and it'll get the kids off their iPads. In 2016 to 2021 period, an average of £148 per person per year was spent on motorists, calculates IPPR. Was it really? Was it really? And how much money did motorists add to the pot versus cyclists? Well, I don't want to get into, like I said, I don't want to foster this motorist versus cyclist thing. We're all just road users, and I feel like we all need to be supported. Yes, it's healthier riding a bike, but you ain't going to choose to ride your bike if you've got to take 2 kids with you and it's 6 degrees and raining. Last year, the already low level of funding for active travel England was cut by £233 million, and the rhetoric surrounding the government's new plan for drivers has shown that promoting active travel is no longer considered the priority it was for former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who at the height of the pandemic promised a future golden age for cycling. Well, Boris Johnson was a bellend. He still is a bellend, an actual psychopath who... I'm not going to talk about it. Right, basically, we've got a problem with cycling. Nobody wants to cycle, but everybody keeps focusing on the commute. How about let's not focus on the commute? How about let's focus on the really good cycle parks that we've got in Britain? How about focus on the really good national parks that we've got and scenic places and coastal routes? Why not rebuild cycling as a hobby instead of rebuilding cycling as something that makes you get rid of your car? That's where government keeps going wrong, and that's where this battle between cyclists and motorists is being fought. We just need to get along. I would like to put a bike rack on the back of my car and drive somewhere where I know my family is going to have a happy and healthy and safe time on bikes. That is where the cycling industry has growth potential. Where it doesn't have growth potential, and I am going to say it one more time, is in trying to persuade people who are taking their kids to school that they should really be using a bike when their children are small and it's raining. It doesn't work in Britain. We cannot chase this policy of this like California dreaming, everybody on bikes riding down the coast path. It doesn't work. The weather in Britain is crap all the time, and we don't want to ride bikes in the rain. So there you go. How is the net zero thing, right? How is this new world order, world of no emissions going to work if we can't even support the British cycling industry? If people don't want to buy the bikes, people don't want to buy the electric cars, the whole thing's falling apart, isn't it? But I am all for supporting the cycling industry as an outdoor hobby, not as a total replacement for your car and your day-to-day life. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't want a war between cyclists and motorists at all. I want everybody to have a war with the government. I'm joking. I'm not advocating for a revolution and people hanging from bridges. I'm absolutely not. You said that. I didn't.